With that, this is basically our welcome. I have a few housekeeping things and then a very high-level introduction to Medtronic, just to give you a flavor of who we are for those who aren't familiar with Medtronic. After that, we're going to dive into a networking mixer. These have become very popular here at Medtronic. For us, the MIX stands for Medtronic Information Exchange, but it works as well for this group because it's kind of mixing it up, if you will. So Meghan and Kayla will engage you in a fun and interactive way to learn some things and do a little bit of ideation process. Then critical thinking, a very popular topic that has been taught the last two Jumpstarts. Sean Kelly will be sharing his insights as our critical thinking ninja, right? About hidden influences and decision making around that. And then we'll wrap up. As we come back, we'll wrap up future session agendas. I will share with you what we have lined up coming up November 4th, 11th, and 18th, and announce some prize winners. So yes, we have prizes for engagement in particular, and I'll share that with you. Before I do, though, I just want to talk about the wonderful coopertition. I mean, this is, for those of you who are in First and have been familiar with First, coopertition is a big part of the mantra for the First organization. And we have some really great partners with this Jumpstart Robotics. Delta Modtech, Todd and his team. So coopertition at its finest. Again, Todd at Delta Modtech ran a Jumpstart already in October, early October for mentors, and has been really a rock solid partner in pulling together all these Jumpstarts, as well as Alex Turok from Becker, team 4607 off the top of my head. So, and the Central Minnesota Robotics Hub is kind of where Jumpstart all originated. Medtronic jumped in, and we're going to be hosting today, of course, and then November 4th, 11th, and 18th. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we are not able to bring people into the facility like we did 2 years ago. Hopefully next year we can do that. In place of that, we are doing these 4 sessions from at least 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, depending on, and like I say, this agenda is intended to be fairly agile. It is your Jumpstart. If you have a topic you want to bring forth, we can try to fit it in and raise awareness to topics that are even continue to emerge. Excuse me. And then I want to call attention as well to St. Cloud State. They have an in-person Jumpstart that will happen on December 4th. And I think the topics will be different mostly from what Medtronic has. So your opportunities there for further learning and networking in person are available as well. I believe that masks will be required for that, but you're able to actually see and be in touch and feel there. So. With that, I'd like to remind people of gracious professionalism. Our friend Woody Flowers passed away a few years ago, but has brought gracious professionalism as, again, a foundation for the First organization. So I just ask that you respect presenters. That one of the biggest ways you can respect your presenters is by engaging and being prepared to ask questions. Those are really important skills and qualities to bring to the work world as well. So being able to be curious and ask those questions is really, really helpful. Respect, the Zoom. Make sure you have appropriate backgrounds. Make sure your camera's not recording or bringing something to the rest of us that you don't want it to. The volunteers, if people are, there are folks in each of the rooms that will be moderating, certainly ask for help from them. Network and meet new people. That's the goal of this session in particular, is we're hoping that people will connect and network and learn some new skills for networking. And then respect yourself. You're here. This is your time. Learn, have fun, and engage. Finally, speaking of engagement, we are offering some points, if you will, that will be part of a prize drawing. So winners will be announced kind of at the wrap-up. Matea will be keeping track throughout the sessions today, or our time today. We will, if your camera is on throughout the session, you get 2 points, for example. You get 1 point if you have a photo. If you ask a question, she's going to calculate and keep track that you've asked a question in chat or live, with 2 points for a verbal question and 1 point for a chat question. Same for answering that question, 2 points for verbal, 1 for chat. And then we want you to engage in the chat. We're finding in our work anyway, that very often some of the greatest questions emerge where folks are able to enter them in the chat space. So we encourage that as well. Prizes for this, the plan at this point is we will do a drawing, 5 winners for each of the 4 weeks. And we'll receive a $5 gift card to Dairy Queen. And then we're going to tally all the points per team, and then the team with the most points at the end will receive some level of a pizza party. Not sure exactly how that will be, if a gift card or we'll actually purchase it, but we will manage that for you. Any questions before I jump into a brief overview introduction of Medtronic? Any questions, anything that? Okay, moving forward. Fabulous. So, you know, at Medtronic, we are engineering the extraordinary. Realizing I didn't really introduce myself formally, for those of you who don't know me, I am Char Provost. I lead our Medtronic Knowledge Center. This role really puts me in a unique position to drive, you know, organizational excellence for our scientific and technical engineering community, including, you know, some of these new initiatives around STEM and STEM outreach. I am really delighted that you are all here today, and I hope that you'll be inclined to consider really a career that uses technology for greatness. And then I'll share a little bit with you about how Medtronic is doing just that. At the very highest level, Medtronic really pays attention to the impact we make, and that impact is with the patients we serve and those who need our therapies. And we're proud that last year we had 72 million lives that were improved through our therapies, which equates to every 2 seconds, 2 people every second is impacted or improved. Their lives are improved by the products we have. And that is really, really remarkable and a great way to come to work every day knowing we're making that kind of impact. Our history is really rich, based on innovation. Many of you know our story. I won't go into detail on that today. We may have that at another time, but our work is driven by our mission of a very rich history that spans over 70 years. This really encouraged us to continually break, you know, new barriers. Some of those highlights really began in 1949 with Earl Bakken and brother-in-law Palmer Hermunsley, as they were developing the first pacemaker and came to a need within a hospital situation, and used his electrical engineering skills as a medical repair business to create the first battery-operated external pacemaker that has been the start of our organization. I won't go through all these details, but just throughout the years, you know, awareness over the decades that we've expanded into heart valves, neural stim, spinal, diabetes, remote monitoring, and much, much more. In 2015 or so, we acquired Covidien, almost doubled the size of our organization. And more recently, that you see on the bottom line there, we are really at the forefront of a lot of robotic-assisted spine surgery, for example, smart hospital equipment, continuing to disrupt our pacemakers through things like our Micra, which is the smallest pacemaker, and further expanding our capabilities with artificial intelligence, data-enabled therapies, surgical, and diabetes treatments that are being enhanced by data, AI, and so forth. Really excited for the last one on there. Just this very recently this year, we launched our Hugo robot, which is going to further broaden what we have available for robotic surgery coming to the market. These are the kinds of products and the kind of work that our scientists and engineers are driving. Life-transforming technologies are treating more than 70 conditions across cardiovascular, medical, surgical, neuroscience, and diabetes. The cardiovascular portfolio brings together the cardiac and vascular businesses to take advantage of really that full breadth of talent that we have in that space, the technologies, products, services, and solutions. The medical surgical portfolio enables, you know, a lot of earlier diagnosis on some of those the hospital equipment, faster complication-free recoveries with our minimally invasive products, and then enhance those patient outcomes for our therapies. Neuroscience serves a variety of diseases connected to, you know, the nervous system. We develop a diverse portfolio of various therapies, everything from neuroscience and the full care continuum to assist patients in a whole variety of neural. One of the most popular is our deep brain stimulation for Parkinson's, which is really fabulous opportunity for bringing people to full life. And then in diabetes, that operating unit provides solutions that meet people where they are on their diabetes journey. Some really great sensor equipment and the ability for patients to live a full and normal life with some of the equipment and therapies that we provide. Really covering literally from head to toe. So how do we do it? Bold thinking really is began with Earl in the early story. Thought big about how he was asked to create a battery operated pacemaker that would be this big and really large and carried on a cart, and he came back with something that they could wear around their neck. So again, bold thinking, bold actions, driving to the best possible therapies for our patients. We have 90,000 plus employees, which includes almost 12,000 scientists, engineers, 2,000 or so clinical medical folks that come together to really drive a global healthcare technology that is attacking some of these tough technical challenges for health. Our mission is to alleviate pain, restore health, and extend life, and we are powered by a very diverse organization which brings that diverse knowledge, that curiosity, and a desire to help all those who really need it. Again, the mission here is alive and very, very strong to deliver those innovative therapies that transform the lives. You see some of the stats on the right there as well, across many, many countries, a lot of labs, research labs, and sites, R&D sites around the globe, as well as manufacturing, almost 80 manufacturing sites. So in everything we do, we are engineering the extraordinary. That's our new tagline. So with that, my work, the role that I'm responsible for is programs that really foster a vibrant technical community that forms teams, to build products for our therapies, not unlike First Robotics and the teams that you all are a part of. At Medtronic, we know the pillars here that you see before you to be important for our teams to thrive up and down and across our technical community. And we know that First provides kind of a simulated experience that mirrors this for industry, certainly not only Medtronic, but others as well. And I'm delighted, again, that you're here today, as it means that professional development, our number one pillar, is on the radar for your team's success, that you're coming together for that. This first kickoff season, we'll focus heavily on developing your engagement and collaboration skills, that number two area there, bringing that to your teams. Hopefully you can leverage some of the skills and techniques on your teams, especially. We're doing some of this virtually in this case. Maybe some of your teams are still needing to work in a virtual way, and these skills can be carried through virtually and or in person. So, and again, we're pleased to be part of this Jumpstart group of partners who are capturing and leveraging expertise. So that number three there, we're doing that all the time here at Medtronic. We have our top scientists and engineers who come together, fill out profiles, and answer questions all the time. And it's very, very important for the thriving community to be able to leverage that knowledge. And certainly glad that you're here to leverage the expertise of those folks who are part of Jumpstart, but also, again, learning some skills, building those networks so that you can reach out when you are in trouble or you have a question with your robot during build season. And then again, that capturing, so happy that the videos and all the work with all the Jumpstart is captured on the site that Todd and Alex and others are putting together. As we experience success in our work here at Medtronic, the fourth pillar that's critical is for Medtronic to have mechanisms to celebrate our success and reward and recognize employees. First also provides, of course, wonderful means to achieve success and then to be recognized for that. So again, an important piece of this. And then last but not least, an area I want to put a plug in for is discovering that external knowledge. That's critical, really, to the success of our work here at Medtronic. We couldn't do it without it. And I argue that it is important to yours. It's an area that I don't know that a lot of teams do a great deal in terms of doing research and discovery and finding how to tap into that external expertise. But in the coming weeks, we will have many guest speakers, for example, and other means for you to stretch outside of your teams to discover that knowledge. And with that, without further ado, I'd like to introduce the main sessions that we have here today. As a company or your first teams, it's important to generate ideas and to do it well and efficiently. And trust and confidence is among your members, among the members of our community here at Medtronic, as well as your teams, is essential. Today, we're going to have some fun in an interactive way with some activities to share how ideation can really drive to some new outcomes and unexpected outcomes. And then, while ideas are essential, good ideas aren't always the best, don't always make the best decisions. Sean is here, again, as our critical thinking ninja, and he'll share his expertise with critical thinking. He teaches a class here at Medtronic on this, and he will talk about how various influences can impact the decisions you make and the importance for you to be aware of what those influences are. So with that, please welcome Meghan, Kayla, and Sean to the next session here, and I'll allow you to introduce yourselves at any deeper level. Thank you for your time.
And Char, we did have a question in the chat, so thank you, Jane, for asking that question.
Okay, great. Yeah, what you got?
Well, and I don't know if we'll know. I couldn't find it, but she asked about Hugo and if that was an acronym for us. Funny thing about that, Jane, we have like 7,000 acronyms at Medtronic, so the fact that it might not be is kind of funny. But I think
that is funny.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything though. We'll have to look into it.
You know what? Maybe between now and the end, I'll take that question and we will try to put it to our channels of asking a question, see what we can uncover by the time I'll phone a friend and see what we can find by the end of the session here. Great question, Jane.
Sounds good.
Very good. Well, I will just hop in here. As Char said, I am Kayla, and you just heard from Meghan, and we are going to be jumping into the mixer. So Meghan and I work in the Knowledge Center along with Char, and one way that we summarize our work is that we connect people to people and people to information, and one of the ways that we do that is by hosting mixers, which you are now a part of. So welcome. Now, mixers are sessions where we gather groups of people, where we share knowledge, connect with other people, new people in some cases, we innovate, discover, and we do all of that while having a bit of fun. So as we're looking for how to kick off this Jumpstart series, we realized that our goals for mixers, as I've just stated, are really well aligned to the core values for First. So our hope in this time is that as you are launching into this new competition season, that this mixer would set a tone for how you have fun while you innovate and discover, and how you can make an impact as an inclusive team while you're modeling those virtues that Char mentioned, like cooperation and gracious professionalism. So what does a mixer look like? Well, mixers for us come in all shapes and sizes, but today we're going to start off with a warm-up as a group, a large group that Meghan's going to lead us in a few moments. After that, we are going to break out into smaller groups of 5 or 6 individuals. And do some exercises there and give you a chance to get to know one another. And we said, have some ideas, be creative, have some fun, and then we'll come back as a large group at the end and debrief before sending you off into critical thinking. And with that, Meghan, are you ready for the warm-up?
Sounds good. I'm ready.
Perfect.
All right. So a key skill that is going to be very important for you as you start to work on your robots. And one of the core values of First is around innovation and to be innovative. So we want to start off with a group exercise. It's going to get everyone's creative juices moving and get us just to start being creative and have some fun and be innovative. And we're going to do that with a brick, an ordinary red brick. Imagine it's in your hand. It's a little heavy and it looks pretty simple, right? And we all know that bricks are used for things like building. A lot of houses are built with bricks, other kinds of structures. But when we maybe challenge ourselves for a minute to think outside the box, and maybe just think of what are some innovative ways we can use a brick to help us do something maybe faster, maybe make something a little bit easier. Maybe it solves a problem, or maybe it's just a fun thing to use it for. So here is my challenge. I'm going to give you about 30-ish seconds, and I'm going to have you start thinking of 5 different ways you could use a brick that isn't a traditional means of using it, like a building. We're going to use the Annotate feature on the Zoom. I think we have a team, maybe 2, that might be in a room. So if maybe one person could go on the laptop if you have or computer and type, or just amongst yourselves kind of brainstorm as well. But we're going to use the Annotate to put down all of our different ideas. I want to see 20, 30 different ideas of how we might use a brick. Now, if you've never used Annotate before, let's just run through that really quick. Kayla, if you could share the whiteboard. And once Kayla, she might have to stop sharing and reshare. We'll see. Once she shares that, you're going to see view options at the top of your screen. And I think I even see it now. You're going to see Annotate. You're going to hit Annotate, and you're going to see you have some options. You can use text, you can draw, you can stamp. For this purpose, we're going to use text, and we're just going to have you write down your answer. So you'll see I did a pen, I'm scribbling. I'm going to clear that just so it's not in the way, and use text. So again, thinking about how can I use a brick? What's an innovative way that I could use it? Let's take 30 seconds. Again, go to view options at the top of your screen, click Annotate, use the text option, and write down some ideas. Brian, I love it. You just gave the #1 way I always hear about using a brick and a paperweight. I'm glad you got it out of the way, put it in there right away. This is great. I see things start to populate. Good. Again, I want 20, 30, 40 different ideas for how to use a brick. I'll give you some time here. Got a lot of flower folks in here. That's good.
That was actually my first thought, Megan. I'm
A flower
aspiring
pot?
to. I'm aspiring to plant herbs someday.
I love it. Window smasher. That I always get one. The other one I hear is projectile missile. Often comes up when I use this. I love it. Doorstop. Yep, that's a good one. That's perfect. Again,
Fishing
thinking
rod
about
holder.
yeah, that's a new one. I've never heard that before. That's a good idea. I love it how we're expanding. Fishing rod holder, put a board on it and becomes a ramp. Like I love just
That's
I
the
love
idea.
it. And anchor art. Yep. Paint it something fun. Place in toilet tank to conserve water. I love it. And that's the idea again, thinking about how might this make us more efficient, or how might this solve a problem, or help us do something, make something a little easier. Let's look maybe for 5 or 10 more things. Oh God, okay, we got a list here. Stepping stool, yep. Cup holder, yep. Art, a seat, demolition, workout weights, absolutely. Heat a sink for an outdoor oven. Oh yeah,
love the
all right.
pizza oven. That's great.
That's awesome. Oven, hot mat. I love it. Yes, Till, thank you for asking that question. So again, if you want to use Annotate with us, you'll see at the top of your screen, you'll see you are viewing Kayla's Medtronic screen, and you're going to see view options right next to that. You click view options and click Annotate. A little part comes up, and it gives you the option to use text or draw or stamp, and you'll use the text or, and Angela, you might not see that. And maybe if you can't put it in Annotate, put it in chat. That would be a really great way for you to contribute here. Traffic light for sandbox trucks.
Pet brick. Did you see that one? Pet brick. That's good.
I love it. Tie a string and throw it over
like
a branch to help create a swing. It's great.
Oh.
Thank you, Lisa. So you have to click on the screen to create a text box to type it into. Yep. Great. Good. So this is, you see, these are fantastic ideas that you're coming up with. And the idea is that it's all of our individual creative ideas. We're putting them all here together. Maybe if, Kayla, if you wouldn't mind going back to the slides for a second, I'll show you a few that we came up with as well. Fulcrum counter. Oh, this is great. This makes me so happy. Thank you guys for your engagement with this. We should record these. And I'll have you show a few. Now, keep in mind, I am a librarian by trade. And so librarians often are associated with books and cats. So I added those. Someone had said, paint them, make them art. This is a cool example I found. Make them into books that you like and have those maybe be in your garden or your home. I know technically, I'm pretty sure it's cardboard, but you get the idea. It could be a cat house for your cat if you have one. And I love this guy. He's just so cute. This kind of robot brick man, Kayla and I found, and, you know, kind of ties into what we're doing here. So maybe something to keep in mind for your own robots. So with this again, thank you. This is all about using our innovative minds, our creativity to come up with unique ideas. And every one of you has a unique idea to contribute. And now we're going to transition, and Kayla will introduce our next exercise that's going to utilize that skill and build on it and use it as a team. So Kayla, take it away.
All right, so we are going to head towards breakouts. Now, this is going to look two different ways just because of the ways that you guys have come to this session. I understand that there's at least one group that is in a room physically together. So then you guys, I don't know how many are in that room, but if there's more than, say, 8 of you, break into 2 groups. There's fewer than 8 of you, the 8 of you can just work together. And everyone else is going to be broken up into Zoom breakout rooms that we will send you to after we explain what's going on here. So the first thing you're going to do after you go to your breakouts is you're going to introduce yourself with your name, your grade, how long you've been a part of First, and then answer one of the 2 questions. What is the best Halloween candy? And if that's not your vibe, then what is your favorite fall activity? This would look like for me, my name is Kayla. I no longer count years in terms of school grades because I have graduated, but this is my first year at Medtronic. I can count that way. And it is my second season being a part of First Robotics activities. And for me, the best Halloween candy is anywhere I go where you get a full-size candy bar because they are the real Halloween MVPs. So after you've introduced yourselves, look something like that. Doesn't have to be super in depth, just a way to know who we're talking to and who we're cooperating with in this session. Then you're going to use a story prompt that we're going to give you and create a story. More on that in a second. We do want you to take a stretch break if you can. We know 2 hours is a long time to sit in one spot. You want to keep your blood moving, getting around, have some casual conversation. So if you do finish early, or if you can, just take a couple of minutes to move around so you're not just sitting in one spot for a full 2 hours. Okay, so the story, the way this is going to work is we are going to give you just a phrase that gets a story started. And then you're going to go around in the room and you're going to each add on to the story. So I'm going to show an example prompt here. It says, this morning I walked into the office and to my great surprise, I saw. And the way that it's going to work is that that person who starts it off will add a piece to the story. Then the next person will validate what they said and add their contribution by saying yes and continuing the story. You'll do this going around until everybody in the room has said at least 3 parts of the story. Now that might be a little bit confusing just hearing it. So Megan and I thought we would model it for you. So just to give you an idea, she's nervous. I'm much
very
more
nervous.
into improv than she is, but it's okay. There aren't right or wrong answers. There aren't good or bad answers. You're just moving along and seeing where the story goes. Okay. So I'll kick it off by saying, this morning, I walked into the office and to my great surprise, I saw an orangutan. That's
Yes.
monkey, guys.
Okay. Yes. And he had this silver metallic shimmer as I stepped closer to him. And I noticed he was maybe a little bit mechanical.
Okay, yes, he was metallic, shimmery, mechanical. And as I investigated further, I found he was missing a foot.
Oh boy. Yes. And although the foot was missing from his body, I turned and on the lab table in front of me, I saw the foot was there and it was sparking.
Okay.
I'm getting into it, Kayla. Getting into it.
So the foot was sitting there on the lab table, was it? And it was sparking? Mm-hmm. Great. Mm-hmm. It was sitting there on the lab table sparkling. And unfortunately, there was a chipmunk chewing on it.
Of course there was.
I don't know.
Yes. And all of a sudden, the chipmunk had on a coat and glasses and crazy hair and said, "Good morning, Megan." And then I woke up. The end. It was all a dream.
The end. It was all a dream. Thanks for being a good sport, Megan. I kind of didn't play fair giving you an orangutan at the beginning there. But that's the idea, guys. And it's a little bit easier when you're in a room with more people. Going back and forth immediately is a little bit tougher to think of the next thing. Like I said, there are no right or wrong reasons. We definitely just had a shimmering orangutan that was mechanical with a missing foot that a chipmunk was chewing on. So there aren't rules to how, aside from keeping it appropriate and gracious and kind, but there aren't rules as to where this can go. It's meant to be fun. We are asking that, since at least our example was pretty random, that somebody scribe to get the basic ideas down, because when you come back to the large group, we're going to be asking someone from your room to share with the rest of us where your story went. And I can tell you that I would have a hard time remembering just the few prompts you just said, much less the 15 or 20 prompts you guys might come up with as you go to your rooms. All right. Are there any questions before we get ready to send you to breakout rooms as to what we are asking you for?
And we'll give you the prompts in just a second here.
Yes, yes. And then also they'll be in the chat, I think, Megan, if you drop them there. And then I will also send them as a broadcast to all the breakout rooms. So you have lots of ways. And if for some reason you still lose it, feel free to hop back in the chat and we'll help get you directed.
Great. Just a reminder for your video, turn your video on if you want 2 points towards the drawing for Dairy Queen gift cards. Or if you can't use a video, a photo will still get you 1 point in the drawing. So it's really great for our presenters, and I'm trying to get this group used to putting your faces out there. So yeah, there's pizza on the line as well.
I love it, Nathan.
So the
serious here, people.
Pizza. Yeah.
Pizza is important. All right, guys, we're going to send you off to your breakout rooms. Before you go, I'm going to let you know that you have 2 story prompts to choose from. You can do one or both. Either it was a dark and stormy night, and when I walked into the robotics lab, and then, or once upon a time, there was a young robot named Sal who was very afraid of. Do with it what you will. That's okay. It's all about Sal. I'm excited to hear. I'm excited.
I can't wait to hear the stories.
All right, while you guys were gone, those of us who stayed in the main session did our own about Sal. And Sal was afraid of Christmas lights and went on quite a journey trying to plug them into himself and falling over. He lost his head.
Arm shooting off.
Arm shooting off. My goodness, there was a lot happening.
It was a journey.
It was a whole journey. I would love to hear from some of y'all with what happened with your stories. We have a volunteer?
I can go.
I'm curious.
Thank you.
I'm curious about oh, great.
All right, Madison, you're up.
So I was in group 4 and we did the Sal one too. So Sal is afraid of spiders, and so he had a bunch of them crawl over him. So he went to go find something in the lab to wipe off the spiders. Sadly, he found a towel, but sadly he couldn't reach it. So then he fell into a bucket of water, and then the water was very deep, so he started submerging into it. And then the team captain heard all the commotion, came in, tried to help dry him off and get the spiders off. And then he tried to take him apart to clean out the water, but Sal did not want to be taken apart, and so he started resisting.
Oh, yes.
So the safety captain came in and told the team captain that what he was doing was bad and that I needed to stop. The end.
Oh, that's great.
That's wonderful.
It's amazing. I snorted so much just right now. I had to go on mute. That was really good, Madison.
Oh,
that was so fun.
Mark, I see your hand is raised.
All right. So we didn't get very far. We actually spent most of our time just introducing one another.
That's good too.
But we decided to do a dark and stormy night. So the electricity went out in the robotics lab, and one of the mentors decided to take a cell phone out into the hallway. And in the hallway, they noticed that the door had blown open, and there was a person standing there with glazed eyes who came out from behind the door and walked into the lab. And that's as far as we got. Unfortunately, it might have been a scary monster with glazed eyes.
I'm so curious now.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Mark. Peter, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, so I was with Team 2. We did a dark and stormy night too. So it was a dark and stormy night in the robotics lab, and we walked in, and there was a bag of candy, an open bag of candy on the desk. So we took a piece of candy, and we fed it to a bird, and the bird died of chocolate poisoning.
Oh no.
The biology teacher who turned it into a Frankenbird, so we called the ambulance. The took it to the doctor, and the doctor said there's no cure for this bird.
No cure for this bird.
I'm so sad.
Poor bird.
I'm so excited. Do we get everybody?
Is that why we say the bird is the word? I see Lori team 1816 says the bird is the word. Is that okay? I'm getting thumbs up from Tupper.
We already have a tagline happening. Did we get everybody's rooms? No, we have Team Androids, right?
Oh yeah, we see hands waving.
Yeah.
Someone from Team Android want to share? Oh, we have someone coming up. All right. The suspense.
All right, he's coming up. Go.
Okay. It was a dark and stormy night. When I walked into the robotics lab, and then the power went out, and all the robots came to life. Robots shot pumpkins at me. I attempted to leave, but a robot went behind me and locked the door. So I ran across to the other door exit, but they locked me in. We were trapped, and all they wanted was to end human society. So then I ran back to the time machine. That's to be continued.
Dot, dot, dot.
Yay.
The visual
Ooh,
of
great.
pumpkin shooting. I don't know why, I love it.
That was fantastic.
Wow. Did we get her name for the drawing?
Oh, yes. What was
Just
your
her
name?
Yep.
Let's make sure we can connect with that team. Make sure we get the name of the individual who shared. That was great. Good.
Oh, you guys came up with so many great stories. I'm so excited how you engaged. You were clearly listening to each other and bouncing off one another and keeping track of what was happening. So many great skills are being practiced there. Does anybody have any feedback? I know we only have a couple of minutes, but any feedback from what you gained from this, what you learned, something that was exciting to you in this time? Any feedback at all about that exercise?
I guess what I learned mostly was a lot, you put a bunch of individuals in one room and just bouncing off different ideas and all of that. It's great to see teamwork and what we can come out with in the end.
Awesome.
Exactly,
Thank you. Was that Madison? That's an awesome observation, Madison. Angela, I see your hand is raised.
I liked how it encouraged you to listen as well as think of what's next. Sometimes we find ourselves thinking of what to say next and not actively listening.
Yes, that is so important, and why we do the yes and you bringing in, listening to what's happening, and then moving forward with what you've heard.
Kayla and I were just
Meghan.
talking about that. No, that's just it, Angela, is we can get into our head so much, but when we just take a minute and listen to others and just let the creativeness happen, look what we can come up with. It's pretty incredible. So you hit it right on, Angela. It's great. Anybody else?
Jane, your hand is raised.
Yeah, I was going to say, in addition to listening, having to pivot your thinking from what the previous person said. So kind of like the pandemic where we've, had a lot of things thrown at us where so many things changed and we had to come up with new ways of doing things.
Absolutely. And even in hardship too, right? That can happen. Good things can come out of that. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, and so real with the First Robotics as well. As you're playing the game and something breaks and you need to, pivot. How are you going to innovate? How are you going to improvise?
I think we have time for this one last hand that's raised. Is it Yoji? I'm sorry, I don't want to get your name wrong.
Yeah, Kayla, that's right. Thanks. I just wanted to mention that, we've tried this yes and exercise a number of times. It's really been great. And particularly in context of giving presentations, where in First Robotics, where you have groups of students giving presentations, for example, in the Chairman's Award, this concept of yes and answering questions is really, really helpful because someone can start with a response to the question. Other team member will go, yes, and we also do this, and yes, and we do this. It allows students to really kind of feel more comfortable, I guess, in those kind of presentation settings when they're working with judges or other kinds of situations like that. So, so there's a really practical value to this in terms of what students do in robotics.
I feel validated now. Thank you too for saying that. It's great. Good. Well, Kayla, we should probably wrap up. I know we did have one last question. I think we'll maybe just leave it until the end after Sean's, when we do Char, when we do the last question. I know maybe we'll connect with you. We can tie it together. And with that, maybe we hand it right. I mean, Sean's on the call too. He is going to help lead our next session about critical thinking.